thank you to everyone who expressed their concern for my wife and I. Between all of your kind words and the kindness of the place, it's nice knowing we aren't alone through all this craziness. Fortunately, our night was mostly uneventful after all the bizarre discoveries from the previous day. At least one police car stayed parked in the front of our house from sundown until sunup, just as was promised, and there were no signs of the mysterious individual through the whole night. I know, it's quite possible he could have been present somewhere else, but you take the solace in the little victories when you can get them. At 2-ish, I heard the policeman moving around in the driveway. In the morning, they told me that they thought they saw the person standing in the driveway, but by the time they investigated the driveway and the wooded area near it, there was no sign of the trespasser. I also appreciate hearing all your suggestions in the comments about how to get through these times of trouble. I'm not a superstitious man, but I definitely can't rule out anything you suggested at this point. After doing some research about wendigos and skinwalkers, I can say I'm thoroughly terrified by the similarities our visitor had with both of them. I sure as hell hope that our guest wasn't either of those things, otherwise, this all seems pretty hopeless. Also, I actually do own a shotgun. I've never used it for anything other than skeet shooting, but having it definitely makes me feel a little safer. I'll be sure to keep it locked and loaded and by my side until everything is resolved. Anyways, there have been some developments since last night, which I will share with you all now. For starters, I've decided not to tell Mary about the fact that our guest is a reoccurring visitor to our property. I told her that the police stayed out front all night as a favor to us, rather than the fear that they're dealing with something a lot more malicious than just a one-time trespasser. Plus, I'm worried that this might bring back some bad memories for her. She had an issue with a stalker when she was in college, and it persisted for nearly a year before she was able to get a restraining order on him. Even though she hasn't seen this person since, she's still very much disturbed by that painful experience 8 years later. I spend most of the night trying to convince her to make the trip to stay at her sister's, but she refuses to leave me alone, despite how unsafe our house is now. I'm walking on eggshells here, so while withholding the truth from her feels dirty, I think it's better than the alternative if she's sticking here with me. I also made a trip to town around 9 o'clock this morning to make a few purchases that should let any upcoming nights feel a little safer. The most important purchase, 15 lights that are much stronger than the old ones we've had dotting our property since we moved in. These new lights are set on a timer, so I plan to illuminate just about every inch of the property, starting tonight. I also made a stop by my friend's Andrew house after my shopping spree. He's on the road for work right now, but since he's been an avid hunter his whole life, I knew he has something that could really up my surveillance factor. Game cameras. If you're not familiar, game cameras are cameras used mostly by hunters that are most often triggered by either sound or motion. Andrew's 3 game cameras were older and were able to take still frames when triggered, but I think it's important to monitor the woods surrounding my house as well as my property. The more information I can gather on this person, the better chance we have of getting our life back to normal. After making these stops, I got back home around noon to both set up for another tense night and to continue to find answers on who it was visiting our house. It took an hour, but I readjusted all 4 cameras. I'm not very handy at all. The 3 I had to unscrew and remount kept falling no matter how much I tried to screw them into place. But thanks to my effort, I have a much better view of the entirety of the area surrounding my house. I really don't think I'll see much of the 2 cameras in the fenced-in parts of our property out back, as the back fence is tall, and all that can be seen behind the fence on camera are the dense trees. But you never know what could happen. What feels much more useful now is the driveway camera, which finally actually shows every inch of the driveway. Since the cops may have seen a figure in the driveway, I wouldn't be shocked if now I caught this trespasser thanks to this new angle as well. I also picked 3 spots in the woods to set up Andrew's motion-activated game cameras as well. Since these cameras are older technology, I won't be able to see the stills they take until I've retrieved them and downloaded images the next morning. Well, it's a little after 4 p.m. as I'm writing this, and I want to look through the older logs of the camera again. I'd like to go back to the earliest recordings from when Mrs. Maddox was still living here to see if I could find any evidence of the trespasser showing up all those years as well. I doubt it though, since Jason and Mrs. Maddox herself would have noticed if they checked the cameras regularly like they claimed, but I figured it pays to check. I'll post any updates if I find anything of note. Update. Yeah, he's in the videos from 8 years ago. I looked through the first 3 nights recorded by the camera, and so far, this bastard has shown up in the front yard each night. He hasn't done anything different in these videos though. Obviously, this is an important finding, since it proves that the Maddox family might know something, but it doesn't really teach me anything more about who or what I'm dealing with. I'm gonna call Jason and see if I could talk to his mom now. She was so high-strung, she had to have noticed this person at some point. Update 2. Call Jason. Turns out his mom died earlier this year. I don't know the Maddox family personally, so obviously, I really didn't keep in touch with them. I hope she found peace. I asked Jason if he ever noticed anything on the security cameras, and he told me he never even checked them. When I explained that I saw someone standing outside in the video logs, he was speechless for a few minutes. I think he felt guilty. He admitted he always brushed off his mother's scared pleas to leave the house as her mind finally started slipping during the final years of her life. He said he was hesitant to have her move in with his family full time. So he gave her a cell phone in the case she ever fell down or needed any help, and also told her he would install cameras and check them nightly to be sure there was no one outside or in case anyone ever tried to break in. Clearly, he was at fault for not believing his mom. But that's not my problem. I asked him if she ever said anything about anyone coming to the house in the middle of the night, to which he replied that she would sometimes see a tall man standing somewhere in the front yard. Since she only started mentioning it the last couple of months before she moved out, he assumed she was just seeing things, and as such, decided to move her into his house instead of investigating. He also mentioned another incident that makes me very nervous the more I think about it. One night in August, about a month before we bought the house, he received a frantic call from his mom that there were people talking in the basement. Jason got there as fast as he could, but when he got there, he only found his mother cowering in the living room. He saw no evidence that anyone had broken in. I told him not to worry or feel guilty, and I even lied to him and told him that the man only had showed up on surveillance cameras once while his mom lived there, from what I could tell, and that he shouldn't feel badly. I'm not sure if he believed me, but he seemed relieved. It sounds like Mrs. Maddox was clearly of more sound mind than was initially believed during her time living alone in this house. That left me with another disturbing but logical question. Did I have to worry about the voices she heard in the basement? Thankfully, I've never dealt with anything like that, but now I'm worried there might be someone or something else lurking inside the walls of our home, and not just out in our yard. Mary's here, so I'm just going to focus on keeping her calm. I'll make some more updates if need be, but tonight will hopefully just be another quiet and uneventful night. Update 3. Fuck. It's almost 10:30, and the police officers still haven't showed up to sit and watch our house like they did the last night. I told Mary another fib to cover up the fact that we were still very much in danger. She's in bed already sleeping. I told her I would be catching up on some work I missed last night. I'm actually holed up in the upstairs office with a mini fridge full of energy drinks to my right and my trusty shotgun at the ready. I plan to stay glued to my laptop all night, watching the live feeds of the outside until the sun rises and I can feel safe again. I've been watching this monitor for an hour now, and I think I'm finally noticing something. In the driveway. It's just out of the light, crouched down near the woods, but it's the trespasser. He's completely motionless, but it's definitely him. I think he's been there for a while now, but he just twitched slightly a couple of times. I'm calling the police as I type this. They've been alerted, and they're on their way now. I know they'll do their best, but I probably won't see them for another 20 minutes. I've got the gun on my lap now. I'm going to bring the gun and the laptop with me into the bedroom and lock the door. For Mary's sake, can't be too safe. And the minute I've taken my attention away from the screen to get fortified in the bedroom, he's completely changed position. That little shadow on the edge of the woods is gone and now standing at the end of the front yard and almost on the road is the trespasser. His head is craned up towards the sky again. It's almost like he's staring at the camera. Staring at me. It's quiet. Eerie. I know we live in a secluded area, but he just sprinted towards the house. He's banging on the door.
This concludes our story. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.